It wasn't just a win, it was a warning. The kind of game that echoes beyond the final buzzer. A game that didn't just shake Denver's confidence, it exposed something deeper, something dangerous. In what might be a preview of a brutal playoff showdown, the Golden State Warriors didn't just beat the Nuggets, they dissected them. And what happened that night might change the Western Conference entirely. Let's break it down, step by step, play by play, and move by calculated move. Because this wasn't just basketball, it was war. Fresh off a hard-fought victory against the Lakers, the Warriors were riding adrenaline into a back-to-back against Denver. And Coach Kerr came out swinging. His opening tactic? Weaponize Steph Curry's gravity before Denver could even blink. A pin down from Moses Moody opens the floor, but the real threat is Curry, lurking, sprinting, disappearing behind defenders. Every step he takes distorts the floor like a black hole. Jokic, left in isolation with Draymond, gives up space, but Curry's mere presence forces rotations, cuts, and chaos. And then the illusion begins. Watch closely. Curry literally hides behind Brown, giving Jokic a false sense of a clear passing lane. And boom, trap set. The moment Denver adjusts, Steph dishes to Draymond, who slithers in for the layup. It's not just offense, it's psychological warfare. But that was just the beginning. Denver's first response? Feed the beast. Nikola Jokic went to work like clockwork, bullying mismatches, spinning into layups, drawing help only to dish it away effortlessly. For a moment, it felt like the Nuggets were in control. Draymond Green fought tooth and nail, trying not to concede an inch, but Jokic made him pay anyway. Soft finishes, delayed passes, surgical footwork. It looked bad for Golden State on the surface, but something subtle was happening. Every time Jokic sat, even briefly, Denver's entire offensive structure wobbled. They were leaning too much on him. And the Warriors? They noticed. There's a phrase that keeps Nuggets fans awake at night. Nonic minutes, the time when Jokic sits and the world falls apart. And on this night, that nightmare came true in real time. As soon as Jokic hit the bench, Golden State pounced. Jimmy Butler led the charge, slashing through gaps, turning defense into fast breaks, and flipping the tempo on its head. The Warriors' bench, usually their weak link, started landing haymakers. In just a few minutes, a 10-point cushion disappeared. Golden State went on a 14-5 run, flipping the entire momentum of the game. And the craziest part? Denver didn't have a single answer. They looked lost. And by the time Jokic checked back in, the avalanche was already halfway down the mountain. Then came the moment everything changed. Steph Curry, unbothered, unfazed, slipped into what can only be described as basketball nirvana. Zero gravity mode. He was rejecting screens, floating past defenders, and hitting shots with zero regard for human limits. Denver tried everything, bigs, doubles, even switching length onto him, but nothing mattered. One moment, he's rising for a triple. The next, he's slicing through two defenders and finishing at the rim like gravity doesn't exist. And with every bucket, the Nuggets' defensive scheme crumbled a little more. Draymond and Pods orchestrated seamless tic-tac-toe plays. Kuminga floated baseline, untouched. Golden State wasn't just scoring, they were humiliating Denver's rotations. What followed wasn't a run, it was a collapse. Denver began turning the ball over in droves. Misreads, lazy passes, hesitations. Kerr's adjustments had the Nuggets guessing every possession. Looney entered the game and helped trap Jokic, forcing wild kickouts and clanked threes. Christian Braun had a strong night statistically, but even he couldn't stem the tide. Every bucket the Nuggets scored felt hard-earned. Every Warriors bucket looked effortless. Draymond did what Draymond does, wreak havoc without the ball, rip steals, anchor the defense. On offense, the chemistry between Steph, Green, and the others was clinical. Denver? They were scrambling like a team on the verge of something worse. When the fourth quarter opened, Denver still had hope, but then Jimmy Butler pulled up, buried a three, and stared down the bench. Hope turned to silence. The Warriors' defense swarmed. Butler slashed through defenders like they were traffic cones. Curry kept bombing threes off off-ball screens that no one tracked. And Draymond? He was in full psycho mode, isolating, screaming, energizing the entire team. The Nuggets bench, without Jokic, looked like a lottery team. When Jokic checked back in, it didn't matter. His teammates couldn't buy a bucket, and Golden State had already closed the lid. This wasn't just a fourth-quarter run. It was domination, systematic, unrelenting. And as Steph hit another back-breaking three, off another perfect relocation, you could see it in the Nuggets' eyes. They knew it's easy to write this game off as a one-night spectacle. But that would be a mistake, because this wasn't just a win. It was a warning shot from a team that's been overlooked all season. The Warriors didn't just expose Denver's bench. They revealed a massive strategic hole in the Nuggets' playoff armor. If Jokic can't be on the floor for 48 minutes, this team bleeds. And in a 7-game series, that's a death sentence. Meanwhile, Golden State finally looks like a team that knows exactly who they are. Their chemistry is elite, their system is tight, and if they avoid the play-in, the Western Conference might not be ready for what's coming. But that's not the end of the story, because what happened next flipped everything on its head. Imagine this. Just when everyone thought the storm had passed, a new player entered the scene. Someone nobody expected, and they didn't knock on the door, they kicked it open. This wasn't some random individual. This was someone with receipts, screenshots, recordings, evidence that could turn whispers into headlines. Overnight, the narrative began to unravel. Conspiracies turned into confirmed strategies. Secrets turned into exposed lies. Suddenly, interviews resurfaced. Footage people had forgotten or had tried to bury went viral again, but now with a totally different context. Viewers weren't watching passively anymore. They were connecting dots, forming theories. Comment sections exploded with timelines, cross-references, and outrage. And the most ironic part, the very system that was supposed to keep it all under wraps was the one now spilling its own secrets. Let's go even deeper, because behind the headlines, behind the trending hashtags, lies something even more terrifying: how easily public opinion can be engineered. Think about this. Algorithms aren't neutral. They're trained, tuned, manipulated. What you see, what you hear, what you think, it's curated. And someone, somewhere, decides what you get to know. That's not a conspiracy. That's tech. Real power now? It's not in money, not even politics. It's in influence. It's in controlling narratives at scale. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Some of the people we trust most to tell it like it is are often the ones being played the hardest. Or worse, they know, and they're in on it. Public figures, podcasters, activists, even whistleblowers. It's hard to know who's real anymore, because when everyone's performance is profitable, truth becomes optional. So what can you even believe? Here's the twist. The moment you start asking that question, you're closer to the truth than most people ever get. And if you've made it this far, you're not just watching a video, you're part of a movement of people who don't just accept headlines, who pause, who dig, who connect the dots. So here's your next mission. Start watching how they talk, not just what they say. Who do they protect? What do they ignore? Who profits from their silence? You'll be shocked at what becomes obvious once you start looking. But be warned, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the deeper you go, the louder the noise gets. The distractions, the smear campaigns, the sudden algorithmic suppression. That's not paranoia, that's a pattern. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more.